Worth here from Question Pro. Welcome to today's program, Instant Feedback and Better Online Reputations. Now that I've unmuted myself, I'd like to introduce a great all-around guy. I couldn't figure out why he wasn't smiling when I was cracking jokes about him. He's very funny. This is it's live, so he's a great guy. He wears a great fedora, which is one of his many hats that he wears. He also plays the ukulele, which I hope I'm doing credit saying it close to correctly. He's a songwriter. He's an author. He's a sought-after speaker, and he's our expert today on online reputation management as we dive into instant feedback and better online reputation. So, Andy, welcome today.
Thanks, James. Yeah, I thought it was me. I was scrambling around like, why can I not hear you? So I'm glad that, considering the problems we had 6 months ago, I'm glad that we got this good thing going on today.
Yeah, absolutely. For those who may have joined us 6 months ago, take one was where we had 4 steps to crush bad online reviews, and that's definitely built into the content today, but we're going to take it another step further, and now that we've got the technical hiccups worked out, we're actually going to be able to have Andy on the show, and we're going to have a great time today. So, so just to give everybody a quick idea of the format for today, we are going to have an interview-style conversation, Andy and I. I'm going to give everybody a chance to load in their questions in the comment stream. I'll be able to pull those into the conversation and share those with the audience, with everyone watching it now and watching the recording later. So please send us your challenges, your defeats, your successes about online reputation management. And Andy has asked us to be tough on him. So you know, if you have a challenging situation, throw it out there. We're going to really roll up our sleeves and get dirty here and really have a meaningful conversation. The conversation is built on Andy's new book, Repped, 30 Days to a Better Online Reputation. It's an awesome book. I've read it. Well, I can't quite say cover to cover because I actually read it on my phone. That's a great testimonial. It was something that you know, the chapters are concise enough that I was able to read it on my phone on the Kindle app. Got it from Amazon.com. We'll give you the link for that. We're also going to give 3 copies away, so we'll give you a chance to enter that. And we have some other great giveaways and tools that we'd like to provide to you for no extra charge to help you manage your online reputations. So, Andy, what did I leave out of your profile? It's pretty extensive. Maybe you could share just a minute or two about additional things about yourself, your background.
I don't know. Once you cover the fedora, the ukulele, and that's kind of that's the least of my talents right down there. So I don't think we hit the highlights there. So you know, my background. First of all, I'm originally from England, so let's get that out of the way because I live in the South now, so my accent kind of goes back and forth. So
it throws me. It does. Yeah. It throws me a little bit.
And people are sitting there trying to think, where is he from? So let's get that out of the way. And then when I moved over here, I joined a startup, and we ultimately ended up being, at the time, between 2000 and 2005, the world's largest search engine optimization firm. And so my background is extensively SEO. I was handling the marketing for that company. So when you're the top dog, people take pot shots at your reputation. And so that's where I first kind of cut my teeth on reputation management. In between there, did a startup for an agency where we started offering reputation management services. And then I wrote Radically Transparent, launched Tracker, which is our social media monitoring software, and then been doing a lot of consulting and speaking in reputation management space. And then Repped is my new book that came out this year. So I think that brings us up to speed.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, I love the. I got to show this because it's great. This photo here of you.
Oh boy.
No, this one's nothing risque here. It's just this great radically transparent photo cover. I love that. It definitely paints a good picture, and you do that with your new book too. You know, several times you use quotes, you use visualizable stories, and it really kind of brings it home. The quotes in particular really struck me as something that you honed in on. There's one, I think, on just about every chapter chapter, and a couple of them I thought that were really great and worth highlighting. They're all really great, but a couple in particular that I wanted to highlight, and one of them is this one. Let me just give me a quick second to get it on my screen here. Can you see that, Andy?
There we go. Now I see it.
Yeah, so
Oh
this
yeah.
one from Tony Wright. This was great. Trying to improve your online reputation during a crisis is like trying to eat healthy food during a heart attack. And that was one of those that really stuck with me. It drives home the point that, you can't wait till you're in a challenging situation, you're in crisis mode, scrambling to try to figure out what to do. Can you just give us a little bit more about that and why you chose this quote?
Yeah, it's a great quote, and I wish I'd come up with it, but it's from my friend Tony Wright. He and I have spoken on a number of panels together on the subject of reputation management, and that's a quote that he often throws out there, and it's stuck with me because a lot of people do wait until they're in the middle of a reputation crisis before they try to start figuring out what do we need to do, what's our process, who needs to be the person that's responding, and really that's far too late. And fortunately, the industry is starting to get to the point where we recognize the importance of being proactive with reputation management. And so just like with your health, I mean, eating healthily, you got to start at the beginning. So focus on building a good reputation, collect those positive reviews, provide a good service, build good products, and get your name out there first. Then you'll be much better, in a much better shape should you handle come across a reputation crisis for your brand. So yeah, it really does. It's kind of set the stage for the book Reps, because it's a 30-day guide, although you could do it faster or slower, to building a great reputation. And then we dive into, okay, well, how do you maintain that, and then how do you repair it if it does come under attack? Because if you just wait until you come under attack, it's going to be a whole lot harder.
Sure. Yeah, I definitely noticed some recurring themes in the book about, and you would preface a particular topic. You would say, this is the meat, or this is something you're really going to be spending some time on, like CERM. Why don't we just jump right in? And this is out of order, just so everybody knows. This is not the first thing he covers in the book. He starts out at a very high level. It's really easy. You could probably do the first 6 chapters all in a short amount of time in the same day or something like that if you really wanted to chunk this out really quickly. But one of the meaty pieces of this was CERM. Can you jump into CERM a little bit?
Well, I think that search engine reputation management is something a lot of people think of when they hear online reputation management. They instantly think, okay, that means handling, managing what shows up in Google, and that's an important part of it. Don't get me wrong, but there is much more to it. But it's still the main focus for a lot of people. When you type your name in, your brand, your products, what shows up in the search results, and primarily Google. As much as I'd love to kind of give Bing and Yahoo some airplay too, really it's Google. And if it shows up on the first page of Google, you're in trouble. So for search engine reputation management, our goal is not to get it completely obliterated. Our goal is to get it off of that first page, because if it's off the first page, a very small percentage of people are going to see it. It's when it's on the first page that causes a lot of problem, because if there's something negative that shows up on the first page of Google, that's the smoke, right? And then people go looking for the fire. That's when you start seeing Google Suggest start cropping up, suggesting all of these things like your name or scam or something like that, because people have seen that one negative review, one negative blog post in the first page, and they're like, oh, is that an isolated incident or not? And then they start searching, and Google starts connecting the dots that the queries are related. So yeah, we talk a lot about that. Talk a lot about talking about yourself in the third person. Really important for individuals as well as companies. We do our About Us page, and we say we're the leaders in this, and we were founded then, and this is our products are this. When we should be talking about, Tracker is the leader of social media monitoring. Andy Beal is an online. Talk about ourselves in the third person. Is that keyword density that old school SEOs kind of know so well. We need to feed that to the search engines so that they start seeing, okay, these pages are relevant, and then we got to start kind of getting those links to kind of support that they're not just relevant, but they're also popular as well.
I like to try to catch people at their own game. It's just almost kind of just a hobby. It's just fun for me. So whenever I hear somebody is an expert on something, I'm a little skeptical looking at their stuff, thinking, okay, I wonder if there's anything here that I could say, oh, what about this, Andy? Mm-hmm. And I thought I had you. I went to andybeal.com, and you've got the great ad for the book and everything, and I see About, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I remember reading in his book that he's advertising right here that you need to make sure you're in the third person and that you're using your name and everything. So I thought, oh, I've got him here. So I click About, but oh no, then it goes to andybeal.com / Andy-Beal. And then I was like, oh.
Well, here's something else to that, and that's a valid point. People, this advice is if you do need that content to rank well for your brand. So if you've got 10 pages that are already really ranking well in Google, you don't have to start looking at other content like your About Us page and saying, okay, how do I optimize this? But if you've got negative pages showing up, then, for example, myself, I would definitely focus more on, okay, what other pages do I have? But, as you saw, I still write about myself in the third person, and I'll still link out to, if I link to my Twitter profile, it's, Andy Beal on Twitter, not just Twitter, because I want to make that connection and get my Twitter profile ranking well. But, yeah, so don't feel like, especially when you read the book or, any of the advice I give, if you've got things covered in that particular area, then there's no point doing more, right? There's only you're already doing enough. So don't feel like you have to go and just stuff keywords into a particular page. The more of a challenge you're facing with your search results, the more you're going to have to work harder to get these pages optimized.
Sure, fair enough. And I just want to let everybody know too, a couple quick notes here. One is send your questions in. If you have something specific about your business, phrase it as, I have this friend. If you don't want to talk specifically about your business, we certainly understand that. But get your questions in. Here's our expert. We want to make sure we answer your specific issues. We've had a couple already, and we'll definitely get to those. But I just want to give a quick shout out to please just make your comments in the comment stream, add them there, and we'll be able to, we've set aside some time to get to those, so please do that. Another note is I'm going to jump around like crazy today because I want to highlight a bunch of things that I thought were really relevant and something that I hadn't really heard that much about in this online reputation management sphere. So this is in no way meant to be a chronological list of the chapters in the book. The book's great for that. You got to get the book because it's really awesome. It's an easy read and it walks you right through it. A task a day, etc. Right there's.
I'll just kind of I can hold this up for the entire webinar if you like. But, and look, see, it's not that thick. I don't think I have Radically Transparent handy, but it's like half the size of Radically Transparent, so it's an easy read as well.
Yeah, 170 pages or something like that, and I breezed right through it, and it was really interesting, entertaining, and it sucks you right in. So a really great read. So I'm not going to try to chronologize the book. And after I bought it on Amazon, I thought, I should have actually gotten the actual physical book because then I could do exactly that. Look here, you got to get a copy of this great book. So you have to get a copy of it on Kindle or in paperback. It's great. So we're going to jump around. One thing that I wanted to mention was you talk about stakeholders in an interesting way. Also from the perspective of, and this is what I hadn't considered, the detractors being stakeholders. They're having an influence on your reputation out there. But you also talked about, what was it, Super
Super Brand?
The pages where you're the authority. Google considers you
Super Brand.
Super Brand, yeah. So that was actually interesting, and you talked about it, and I can definitely see your SEO background coming through on this because you're talking about strategically building links, not just willy-nilly building links. And we talked about including the terms that you're trying to rank for or improve your reputation on. We talked about it, including those in anchor text and having the page reference the specific names. But specifically, you talked about a link building strategy that was unique, and I thought that was interesting, where you're talking about your main site having the most authority from Google's perspective, and you want to use that link equity or that link juice wisely when you're linking to other third-party sites.
Yeah, well, you said it. No. So the concept of the super brand, if you are number one in Google, then you're the super brand. And what I mean by that is that as far as Google is concerned, there is no other web page, no other website out there that is more relevant for your brand than you, because you rank number one. That's it. You're the top dog. Which means that whoever you then link to, whether that's another page in your site, your Twitter profile, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever it may be, another blog that you own, whatever you link to, if you link to that site or page using your brand name that you rank number one for, then you are passing on that authority in a more powerful way, because you're effectively saying to Google, look, you know that I'm number one for Andy Beal. Therefore, if I link to this Twitter account and I say this is Andy Beal on Twitter in the anchor text, then I am vouching, I am passing on that credibility that that page is also highly relevant to Andy Beal. And so that's the biggest thing that we implement when I've done consulting with clients. That's the number one thing that has helped, is we look at what other web properties do you have that could potentially rank well in the top 10, and how are you linking to those? And so using that concept of the super brand, linking to it strategically, including that keyword in the name, and like I say, you don't have to just use your brand name or your name just as the text. It can be Andy Beal on Twitter, or Checkout Tracker's About Us page, something like that. You're passing on that authority. So it really is a powerful concept.
Sure, absolutely. And on the subject of anchor text, because I'm an online marketer myself, and SEO is something that's a focus of mine, it's probably smart to have those extra keywords in there with the release of the Penguin update from Google, because that's something they look at a lot more skeptically now, is that anchor text. I'm sure it's different for a branded keyword, something that you're building your online reputation for, as opposed to a keyword, an actual a specific keyword you're trying to rank for, but it's good to keep it natural. So
yeah, it is the concepts are very similar. When with traditional SEO, you're trying to rank number one and perhaps number two for a popular keyword where everybody else is competing for that keyword. For reputation management, for SERM, you are trying to rank for a keyword that is not necessarily popular and other people are not trying to rank for. So that's a little easier, but you're trying to get 10, 12, 15 pages to rank. So it's more strategic that way, because you got to be careful how you link to them, and you got to be careful which content to put up, because some content is going to do better and rank better in Google than others. And then also you have to take into account your strategic goals. Don't try and get a particular, if Facebook is not one of your channels that you focus on for building your brand, for engaging your customers, then it doesn't make a lot of sense to try and push it into the first 10 results of Google if it doesn't serve your business purposes. Always try and look for the content that is going to serve your other goals first, whether that's conversions or brand awareness, PR, whatever it may be, and try and push those pages up so that it's not just a page that, occupies a space, but it doesn't do you any good business-wise.
Right. Well, and let's stay on this topic for a minute, because I think it's really relevant, and because people are looking definitely for some advanced things based on the questions, as well as some people just saying, hey, I'm really struggling, what can I do? We'll definitely get to those, but on this topic of the links and how you're spending your time, is Facebook a good use of your time or not to get that to rank higher? You talk about the 80-10-10 rule. Can we talk a little bit about that, because that is obviously a crucial component here if you really need to get positive, more representative content higher in the rankings.
Okay, so the 80-10-10 rule, there's all kinds of content that you could focus on in terms of trying to push it further up in Google search results. But the 80-10-10 rule means that you focus 80% of your time on the content that you own, 10% of your time on the content that you control, and 10% of your time on the content that you influence. So control is pretty much everything. Own is pretty much everything that is on a server that you own. The only way it can ever come down is if you decide to, right? You delete it off the server. Control is something that only you have the login details for. So this might be your Twitter account, Facebook page, that kind of thing. But that company could go out of business. You could violate their terms of service, and they could pull the plug. And then influence would be content where you cannot directly update it yourself, but you can have somewhat of a say in terms of what is shown there. So a good example of that is if you've got a business partner that has a page that talks about their partnership with you, you could ask them, hey, would you mind making a few changes to this? And they would probably agree, but you can't go in there and do it yourself. And the reason why I say split it up like this is because if you're going to spend time optimizing content to show up in Google, you better start with the content that you're always going to own. So that's going to be your corporate site, your blog. It could be a subdomain, a careers portal, or an investor portal, something like that. That's where you're going to want to focus your efforts. And then once you've got that in place, then start looking at, okay, well, how can I optimize Twitter? How can I optimize my LinkedIn profile or something else? And then move on to the stuff that you can influence. And that's invested in stuff that is long term, and you don't have to worry about it going away.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, we're talking about some advanced stuff here, link building and the 80-10-10 rule and some of these other things, stakeholders. I want to get to some basics too, because the way that you start out, you build this great foundation. So some of the things that kind of jumped out at me a little bit as I was starting with this is, and this is interesting, I wanted to ask you about this because you talk about this, essentially you are what you tweet. There's this idea of multiple, what do you call it, multiple reputation disorder of you think you can have this professional reputation and then you can have this personal reputation, and you give some great examples of how that backfires. And you've done it in an interesting way. You have two different blogs, andybuild.com, and then the other one's andybuild.me, which you describe as your more whimsical blog. So and my question is, how do we show different facets of our personality? Because sometimes, okay, I understand what you're saying. You can't be crass and rude on your personal Twitter profile, and then professional on your business profile, and not think they will ever bleed together. But at the same time, how do we have more of a professional reputation, and then our personal side, causes that we're interested in, other things? How do we balance that?
Well, the key thing here is to be authentic. So I'm not saying don't have a personality, but don't think that your personal content will never touch your corporate persona. So you mentioned andybuild.com and andybuild.me. Well, andybuild.com is my self-promotion. Here, here's what I'm doing. Here's where I've been quoted. Here's something to do with the book, and that is corporate. And then andybuild.me is not an attempt to separate personal posts, but it's a place where I'm like, well, it doesn't really fit. People that come to andybuild.com are not that interested. Now, there's also the fact that the other reason for doing it that way is I now have two sites that are going to show up in the Google search results, right? So, I eat my own dog food there. But your personal interests can easily gel with your professional reputation. I don't go out of my way to promote the fact that I like to wear a fedora, I play the ukulele, I like tennis, I'm a black belt in martial art, all these things, but they seep through because those are my interests, right? But those are cool interests. It's not like, it's not like some of my interests are like unhealthy or unwholesome kind of thing. They're pretty cool, and I don't mind people knowing about them. You've got to gel the two together. You just got to be authentic to yourself. Now, where you have a problem, and the example I give a lot is people that have their personal Twitter account and they put on there, all views are my own and not of my employer. Well, I'm sorry, you work for that company. I can make that connection if I see you go on a tirade with foul language, you're abusive. There was an example, I think one of the guys over at Business Insider, one of their executives was a misogynist and was really just tweeting out hateful stuff aimed towards women. He got fired. I mean, it was his personal opinion, but he got fired because it doesn't gel up with what the company was trying to portray. So people will make that connection, and people go looking for that connection. There's times where I'm like, okay, I need to find somebody that works for a particular company and reach out to them, and I'll start looking for those people, and with an attempt maybe to make a connection with the company. But if I see that you're kind of like, even if it's something as bad as your spelling's not particularly good because you're using text in shorthand, that's going to create an impression on, okay, well, what kind of people are they hiring over there?
Sure. Yeah, definitely. So it could seem that it's fairly innocuous. Just some people aren't great spellers, but at the same time, that could have an influence on the opinion or the reputation of the company. So sure.
And I've had a situation personally where an employee of a sister company that I was the CEO of a company, and this was an employee of one of our sister companies, completely different industry, but we had the same investors and the same overlords, if you like. I discovered that they posted a personal rant on their personal blog about the parent company And it was easy for me to find because I was monitoring all conversations about that. They thought they were doing it almost anonymously. They didn't, they thought they were just reaching out to their friends and family because it was a small Blogspot account. But they got the fright of their lives when I went up to them and said, "Hey, I found your post. Probably not a good idea to put that rant up there. You might want to take it down before someone else sees it." I decided to kind of take the buddy approach rather than throw them under the bus. But you never know who's poking around. I mean, when I find, if I'm going to have a business meeting with someone, usually the first thing I do is go Google them. I go to Facebook and see if I can find their profile. I go to LinkedIn, and so you do represent your company at all times. It's not just at the CEO level, and certainly if you are a C-level executive, you definitely represent your brand at all times. But even the average employee, and I talk about. I give a couple examples in the book where that can actually be a good thing, where the employee can really be the face of the company and turn what's a negative experience into a completely positive experience based on their actions.
Yeah, definitely. And there are some, I think you might have mentioned it before, but I think there was a scenario where you in a previous position had some crisis management to do based on something that kind of hit the wire, and you were able to. I remember you saying in the book something like you immediately found out about it, you were able to address it, disarm the situation, get it to the point of basic resolution all before lunch.
Yeah. It was, if I remember correctly, it was when I was at the SEO company, and I talk about the importance of. In the book, I talk about, there's monitoring tools and stuff you can do, but just having a good network of friends that have got your back. Somebody had noticed that in a particular forum, we were getting trash talked because it was a misconception over something. Oh, no, actually, I think it might have been an overzealous salesperson. And they sent me an email, say, "Hey, you may want to jump in here." I got in there, apologized, asked them to reach out to me, wanted to learn it more, and diffuse the situation. And that could have just kind of grown and manifested itself into a huge reputation problem. But yeah. All right, I'm jumping about a little bit. Can you still hear me okay?
Yep, just got you back.
All right.
Lost you for about 10 seconds there. So, all right. So you actually you dedicate some time to the book talking about circle of influence, stakeholders, how they can get you back, exactly like that. How you show your appreciation for them. You talk about some critical phrases, thank you and sorry. You talk about the stakeholders and the importance, the role that they play. One interesting thing too is you talked about getting everybody on the same page, being clear with the values, the goals of the company, how you want to be represented, so we don't have mixed messages going out. So as we empower people, which was also a theme in the book, employees, staff members, other positive stakeholders, as we empower those, we also want to make sure that we're clear with our messaging and share that in a way that they're able to regurgitate it and share it again, so that it doesn't kind of dilute the brand.
Right, and that starts at the hiring process too. Right? Hiring the right kind of people that are passionate about joining your company, letting them know your goals and your ideals and your values so that you bring on the right people. But certainly everybody in your organization. I'm not a big fan of like social media policy handbooks, right? Because the more rules and regulations you have, the more you paralyze your employees, right? These are your best brand advocates, and now they're too scared to tweet something or say something because they're worried if it's going to violate Section 5, Number 4 of your policy handbook, right? So it's more about sitting down and talking with them and say, look, this is the image we're trying to portray. This is the type of customer we're trying to attract, and this is how we want to interact with people on the internet. And here's some of the things that would be a detriment to that. Don't use foul language, whatever else you may have. And get them on the same page and get them excited about their role in helping to shape your reputation. And so if you do that from the outset with hiring the right people, that'll make your job a lot easier. But if you can also demonstrate examples of where employees have really gone the extra mile. There's a local coffee shop, Sola, and every time they get something positive, a mention on Facebook or an article or something like that, they share it with all the employees for positive reinforcement. Look, this is where you guys did awesome in terms of service. This is what it led to. Keep up the good work. This is exactly what's going to help our business grow and benefit everybody. So, that's an example of how you can kind of share that message and with that positive reinforcement without having to have a lot of rules and regulations.
Very cool. All right, excellent advice. Let's switch gears a little bit, and there have been a few comments that have been made, and I want to make sure that we share those. And so here was one that I don't know. Can you see that on your screen? Okay.
I'm trying to read it through your nose and your eyes, but I can.
That's funny. That's a new thing. Usually it whites out the whole screen. Let me try again. No.
We can read it. Hello, I have a mobile phone and accessories business that is not doing so well right now. We need more for better marketing ideas. What would you suggest? So, without really knowing what you mean by not doing so well right now, that's the first thing you got to decide. What is causing the issue? What is the problem? Is it because the products are poor quality? Is it because you're not shipping fast enough? Is it because people call in and they don't get their calls returned, or there's no one there to answer questions? What is that issue? And address that issue. That is the key thing. Another thing I'd recommend is look at people that are in your industry or similar industry that are doing really well, and start monitoring their reputation. Do competitive intelligence. What is it they like about those companies? Why is it that your biggest competitors are doing so well? Is it because they have an 800 number that they answer within 10 seconds? Is it because they offer free shipping? Is it because they have a fantastic Google reputation when you search for the name and yours is not so good? So figure that out as well. Change the character of your company, and then that will affect your reputation. And there's a quote in the book, and I know, James, you pulled it out because I have it in your notes here, but it's like Abraham Lincoln says, character is like a tree and reputation like a shadow. The shadow is what we think of it. The tree is the real thing. And I expand upon that in the book by basically saying your reputation is only going to be as good as your character. So find out what the root cause is for why your business isn't doing as well, and then look around you examples of people that have tackled that, and then fix that root cause, and then everything else will come into play.
Yeah, definitely. That quote, I did want to mention it because it's the only quote, I think, in the book that you actually mentioned twice. It's fairly early on in the chapters, and then you come back to it again. You kind of circle back toward the end. Once we have built this knowledge, and you say, let's revisit that quote, because really, this is really kind of at the core of a lot of these things that we're talking about.
It is by far my favorite reputation management quote. I've used it for many years. I think it is at the heart of reputation management, because I often say that I can come in and help you fix your reputation, but if your character still stinks, then we're going to be playing a big old game of reputation whack-a-mole. I'll get rid of one reputation issue, but your character still stinks, so we'll have another one crop up, and we have to keep hitting these until you change your character, basically.
Yeah, definitely. One of the bonuses from today is that we've prepared it's a survival guide essentially for if you get a negative review, how you respond effectively and appropriately to the negative review. And one of the things that you said in that section of the book was, hey, if this isn't your first issue with this, if it's not your first one-star review based on this same exact issue, like customer service was horrible, I couldn't get the project return to save my life or something like that, maybe it's time to look inwardly and stop fighting these negative reviews and actually address the issue. And that's something that was refreshing, because what we see as a consumer, a business consumer looking at online reputation management solutions is, I often think of the Reputation.com came out with this thing where it was basically said, hey, you know what, you got stuff out there, anything bad, we'll just shove it down in the results. And that's really that's as deep as they went, or as shallow as they stayed on, at least in their advertisement, on how do we address these issues that we're facing. But your book went much deeper into that, and the recurring theme was, you got to fix this stuff, you have to be authentic, and you have to be transparent, and I'll help you figure out how to do better in Google search results and do some things technically that will help. But at the core, if we're just addressing the effect, we really got to look at the cause of some of these issues.
Right, absolutely. I mean, if you've got an isolated incident then maybe, there are going to be some customers that you're just never going to satisfy. That is always going to be the case. But if you start seeing lots of the same complaint, at some point you got to stop saying it's them, not me, and just realize that there is a problem with your company and whatever it is they're talking about. Now, when you do get these negative reviews, I'll say don't panic, right? Because it doesn't mean the end of your reputation. The second thing they're going to look at is how did you handle that? Other people are going to come in and say, okay, well, this person had a negative experience. How did they handle that? And if you show that you were quick to apologize, that you explain circumstances as to why this happened, you demonstrated that this is not acceptable to you, and then that you are going to fix it and how you're going to fix it, and then you make an effort to say, look, contact me because I want to make sure you're happy. Let's get you a gift card. Let's get this reimbursed. Let me send you a new product, whatever it may be. So, and that's in the negative review guide that you guys have put together, and we worked on, and I definitely approve it. So check that out, because that is going to let other people know. Okay, well, this person had a bad experience here, but look what the company did to make sure that they were happy. They really care about their reputation and providing a great experience. And so some platforms will allow the person to then go in and change their star rating. Other platforms won't, but they'll allow them to go in and add an update saying, hey, I'm now really happy because here's what they did. Other platforms, you could delete it, but the worst thing you can do is just to let it sit there and fester. I had a negative experience with a florist last year. It was for my wedding anniversary last year. Horrible.
You personally had a. Okay.
Personally, so I ordered flowers. Admittedly, it was last minute. I decided to get flowers for my wife, but I paid an extra $20 for same-day delivery. Well, the pitiful excuse for flowers that we eventually got arrived after 7 o'clock. I don't know about you, but same day when it's a wedding anniversary, you want it there maybe lunchtime at the latest. So I called the florist, and they were just awful. They did not want to take responsibility. And so I left a negative review on Facebook, gave them 1 star. It took them an entire year to reply. They just replied a couple weeks ago. Did they apologize? Did they want to make... Nope. Apparently I was lying through my teeth. If I had called them and spoke to them, they would have taken care of it, even though in my original just handled it the wrong way. Well, because this is public, all my friends came back in and trashed them as well. Totally the wrong way to handle it. Even if you should always look to try and give them the benefit of the doubt, because we talk about the lifetime cost of a detractor, and that is not only have you lost their business, but who are they going to influence? Who are they going to tell? Is it going to show up in Google? Is it going to show up on Yelp, Angie's List? And now you've lost potentially thousands of dollars of future business from other customers.
Yeah, definitely. You talk about calculating your customer lifetime value so that you can figure out what the value of a detractor is and make those calculations. There was a great example of what was a $100 credit request from someone that had a website hosting, and the site was down for a day. And the scenario was for that hosting company, the request was, I'd like for you to credit me this month since my site was down for a day. And the hosting company essentially has 2 choices. They could certainly understand the customer's pain, recognize that that customer's paying $100 a month times however many years their average customer is with somebody. Certainly in most calculations it's going to be worth $100 credit one time in order to satisfy that customer and get them back in your good graces, versus saying, no way, it was down for a day. Do you want me to credit your whole month and stand on principle and lose the customer kind of thing?
Right,
so those sort of understanding customer lifetime value and the value of a detractor and the impact of that on bottom line really it makes things much clearer when it comes to emotional reactions to a negative review and that kind of thing.
And often, if you're the more proactive and fast you are to try and make amends, the less it's going to cost you. Because, if that in that situation, if that hosting company had come back before you had even contacted them and said, look, we saw that your site was down today. We are going to credit you for a week's worth of payment because we don't accept that your site was down. That's not the normal standards we have. Then you'd be like, oh, great, well, they're proactive. They're on it. They got it. They gave me a week. I'm totally fine.
Sweet.
Yeah. Well, if you don't acknowledge it and the person complains and there's not a lot of communication, then they up the ante. They're gonna want something more. But a lot of companies they become reluctant to apologize. They think that apologizing is some huge admission of guilt that is going to mean that they're going to be liable for whatever it is. I mean, just apologize, and not one of those lame. I'm apologize for any inconvenience
that I might have caused you.
Yeah. Right? Nobody wants that. That's just everybody sees through that. You've got to say the words, "I am sorry. I am sorry that your site went down today. It's not acceptable. We should have been doing better. Here's what we're going to do to make sure it doesn't happen again. I hope we can keep your business. As a gesture of goodwill, we'll do this." Or even if it's sometimes just saying sorry is all that's needed.
Is enough. Yeah.
People go to the review sites. The people go to other review sites like Yelp and Angie's List often because they felt like that their complaint to you wasn't getting through and you just didn't care. And so it's a little bit of altruism in terms of I want to share it to everybody so that everybody knows my experience. But there's also a little component, it can be quite a large component of revenge. I'll show you. I'm gonna like my 1-star review on Facebook was like, well, if you're not gonna do anything, I'll show you. I'll give you a 1-star review and warn everybody else not to use you. So
right.
If you can resolve that situation. When I called that florist, if they had apologized and took responsibility, that would have taken care of it. Now, here's what's interesting. I think if I recall correctly, I tweeted to FTD because that's who I actually ordered through, and they obviously sourced it out to this florist. I tweeted to them. They were aghast. They were like, "We are so sorry. That's not acceptable. We're going to refund your money, and we're going to have another florist deliver flowers tomorrow on us as a token of apology." FTD got it right. The local florist, not so much.
Yeah, definitely. I want to circle back here, and we're flying through the time. I want to make sure I get to a couple of these questions. I had some good comments that people left. I don't know if you can. It's been so funny doing this, but you see that even though this is back to the employees representing the company kind of thing, and I want to make sure we address this because there was some good dialogue in the comment stream. Marwan said, even though it happens, does that make it right to judge a company by one of its employees' personal opinions?
It's a tricky question between does it make it right, is it right to do so, and does it happen anyway? There are plenty of instances on Twitter, for example, where someone will make a joke that was clearly a joke, but some group took offense at it, and then it escalated. I might look at it and go, "Oh, that's being really harsh. I mean, it was clearly just a joke," but it doesn't matter. People have taken offense, and now you're in a reputation issue. So, is it always fair that an employee on their personal Twitter account has a rant and it then gets tied back to the company? No, it's probably not always fair. But if that happens continually, if it's about something that is close to the company itself, so it can it's not so remotely distant, but it's a topic where it can be connected back to the company. And then also you just got to think about how does it look. Like if I go to a conference and I'm at a cocktail party and someone comes up to me and they are completely wasted and they say, "Hey, Andy Beal, I work for da 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 da." I'm not going to think too highly of that company. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. It's that first impression. So, but it works on the flip side. As an example in the book of where I was shopping for a mattress. There's a reason why they say shop every 10 years because it takes 10 years to forget how bad of an experience it is shopping for a mattress. So long story short, the last place I wanted to shop at was the Mattress Firm because they had a lot of negative online reviews. But I went in there anyway. And the guy that I worked with was phenomenal. He cared. He asked questions. We switched out the mattress. Total of it was our third mattress before we found the one we wanted. And he completely changed my perception of the Mattress Firm. And now when I talk at conferences, I talk highly about the Mattress Firm. So it can work as well that your employees can do something positive, but at the same time as well. Like for example, I have very little interaction with your company, right, James? But you and I have interacted, and so now I hold your company at a high degree, a high regard, based on our great interaction and how well you've represented your company. So it can work both ways.
That's great. That's great feedback because certainly that's a great example of it working both ways with the mattress repairman. And we hear about other scenarios that motivational speakers use, a taxi cab driver or a dry cleaner or somebody that just provides this exemplary service, and it really makes a big difference. Part of the conversation in the comment stream was, echoing what your response was too. Nobody wants the employees to be judged based on their employees' personal life and opinion, but consumers do it. So it goes both ways. It's probably not going to change. You might, probably just need to get used to that and address it. So thanks, Brittany, for that comment as well.
Yeah, Brittany nailed it. It's like I would like to think that that we could talk about politics intelligently without people getting angered and on both sides. But it happens. People, it's just you've got to. It's one thing to say it's not fair, but you got to look at the reality, and until the reality changes, you're just going to have to accept that the actions of your employees are going to reflect. Now, there are some things you can do to somewhat minimize that, but it goes really back to educating your employees and saying to them, look, we're not going to tell you how to behave at the weekend. We're not going to tell you what to put on your personal account, but just keep in mind that someone could make that connection between you and us. And
right.
That could hurt our company. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get fired, but it could hurt our company. And now we're going to have to pay a financial and personnel resources to try and fix that and to make sure that it doesn't hurt our company. Do you really want that to happen? So just be careful. And then also, there's the other thing as well. And we see this a lot where people, especially people in social media, they sign into the wrong account. And so now that personal attack on a particular political party is tweeted from the corporate account by mistake instead of the personal account.
And now
got that mess to deal with. So there's another reason for just try and avoid it whenever you can anyway.
Right.
And then it also goes back to you as an individual, right? So what's your personal reputation? Forget how it influences your company, the company you work for. How do you want to be known as? And if you're constantly going on, attacks and it's drunken tweets or something like that, then is that the kind of reputation you want to portray? Because at some point you may want to get a different job or apply for a VC back-in or something. I've had venture capitalists come to startup entrepreneurs come to me. They can't get venture capital because of something they did in their past, and they need to clean it up because the venture capitalists keep Googling them and finding it.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. And you talk about that in the book too. This is not just about professional reputation; it's also about personal reputations.
Right.
Hiring ability, the example of being able to raise venture capital funds, etc. There's so much in the book, and I want to highlight a couple of quick things, and then hone in on one thing which I think really applies to Tracker and Question Pro. We have a lot of Question Pro people on this call, so I want to make sure that we're tying that in also. But I want to highlight a couple of things to just tease a couple of things out there because there's so many great topics in the book. Set clear goals. You talk a lot about measuring. In order to measure effectively, you got to set your goals. You got to figure out what you want to measure. So there's a great chapter in that. Talk about your many reputations. Not the rule of 6, but you talk about the reputation 6. Is that it, right? So you have these different roles, your CEO, your product or service names, your personal name, your company name, et cetera. So you want to make sure you're thinking about all of those different reputations that you want to build your reputation on for each of those. You talk about, joining the conversation and helping others spread the word. We mentioned that briefly before, but brand ambassadors, stakeholders. I mean, there's so much great stuff in the book. The solution here is to get the book. Creating effective content for search engines. We talked about thank you and sorry a little bit, but then there's great chapters. Don't talk trash, earn trusted reviews, auditing your Google reputation. Really important and great insights for how you go about finding out what your reputation is. Everything from using the incognito mode of your browser so your search results are not influenced by your normal login, to using third-party tools to set alerts. And many other things. So there are 30 days, 30 tasks set aside with great background on each of these. And I want to wrap up this phase because we only have 10 minutes left, talking about something that I think really applies to Tracker and to Question Pro, which is active listening. Actively monitoring your reputation. using alerts, making sure you're doing the monitoring in an unbiased way. So if you're logged into Gmail and you switch tabs and you just start searching for your company name, that's your search results are going to be biased. So I want to first talk about how Tracker can help that, and then talk about the active listening side for Question Pro customers also.
Yeah, so I mean, it is important to monitor this stuff, and you're going to monitor your Google results, and using the incognito mode is a great way to at least filter out a lot of the personal bias that Google's going to apply if you're logged into any kind of Google account, or even if you've conducted searches previously that day. So you kind of use the incognito mode to try and get a clearer picture of what your reputation looks like, and then doing that on a regular basis. So that you can kind of see if anything's moving around. And I talk about doing an audit, kind of keep track of the top 20 or 30, so you can kind of see if anything's moving up or down that might be negative. And then setting up alerts to monitor for conversations before they start showing up in Google, right? So if a negative blog post goes up and you can get to it the very first hour that it's live, you might be able to get to the point where it's all completely resolved and they change the title of their post or they delete it and everybody's happy. So, Google Alerts is a good fallback for that. I tell people that probably for like 80% of the population, Google Alerts is going to be fine. Tracker, which is trackur.com, we offer, it starts at $97 a month, and you can monitor all your different brands and reputations. We monitor across Twitter, Facebook, blogs, news, with sentiment and influence scoring and all that kind of stuff, and it's kind of automated a lot more. And then I talk about having a good network of friends that are listening out for you as well. People that are just as concerned. If I see something negative or something of interest to a friend of mine about their company, I'm going to send it their way. So I think this whole concept of monitoring, and then, like as you said, actively listening. Now, actively listening takes it a step further. What are you going to do to change your business practices based on what's being discussed? Engaging with those people so they know that you're listening, that they know that you care about what they have to say. And there's a fine line between stalking and being creepy because someone happens to mention you in a tweet versus someone's added you at your Twitter sign in a tweet because they want you to engage. So there is a fine line between that. But certainly, when I first got started in marketing, the kind of research that is available now for free just by listening, you would pay tens of thousands of dollars for that market research in order to understand your customer, what they think about you, what they think about your competitors, how likely are they to buy from you, that kind of stuff. You pay thousands of dollars for that. And now, even if you just use Google Alerts, it's completely free. So take advantage of it. And if all you did was listen, just listen, and then make changes to your company. You don't even have to necessarily engage and do a social media campaign. If you just said, okay, this is what people are saying about us, so let's change this and this and make our company better, and then keep listening, you'll see that those problems will go away, people will be more impressed with your brand, and they'll start being the evangelist for you. So listening is really hard to hear me, but I'm frozen.
Yep, there you go. You came back there.
All right.
Yeah, active listening. And I'd like to continue with that theme and talk for a minute about Question Pro, some of the tools that we've built in order to help do that as well. Andy and I went back and forth about a survey to kind of hone it in on what would be an effective survey. And so I'd like to just share this really quickly as an example. And this is something that we'll make available to everyone on the call. If you already have a Question Pro account, we're happy to populate your account with this. If you don't have a Question Pro account, we're happy to sign you up for free and give this to you as well. So let me just share this really quickly so we can talk about it briefly, and you can see what we have here. So Andy, can you see my screen okay?
There's usually a delay. Here we go. Yeah, I see it.
Okay, great. So this is one example. It's specific to a cafe, but it's very easy to customize and change so that it's relevant to your business. And we threw in probably, there may be one question too many to have a really simple customer feedback, customer satisfaction type of survey that you can easily, immediately offer during a transaction, at the end of a transaction, and capture some of those. It's a way maybe to address any negative issues that have come up. We have notifications built into Question Pro so that, hey, if somebody leaves a negative review, you can instantly get an email saying, whoa, 3 out of 5 stars here, or 1 out of 5 stars. We need to address this. All hands on deck. Let's make sure we get right on this. Hopefully, before it comes that negative public online review, because this is your private survey that you're issuing immediately after a close of business. So that's one component here, and which seems to be a recurring theme is, how do I address these issues? Before I happen to have one of my employees come to me and say, "Wow, we just got a 1-star review. What do we do?" Hopefully, we can address that because we're giving the customer a voice. So that's one piece of it. And then the other piece of it is this here too, and it's called the push to social feature, and we're building this out even more. But here on the star rating, depending on the number of stars that I give, if I give a 1, 2, or 3, then that email notification can go out. If I give a 4 or a 5-star rating, we might show another message here that says, thanks for the great rating. Would you mind also sharing this on one of our social platform profiles? Or would love to have you visit us on on Google Plus, Facebook, Yelp, etc. You can choose the ones you want to have them visit to. So hopefully we're addressing some of these these issues where, one, we're addressing negative feedback. Hopefully before it becomes the public negative review, we're able to, because you're doing this over time, we're able to measure trends, so that, hey, if our customer satisfaction rating is falling over time, that's something that we could be aware of, hopefully before there's a crisis that we have to deal with. And on the flip side, it gives us an opportunity to encourage people to visit us on social profiles and share on those social profiles when we do have a positive review.
Yeah, I really like your surveys because A, they're easy to put together and customize, but also the conditional factors that you have in place. If this, then show them, the social buttons. If not, send it to an email. I think that's a really great way. And you can, even if you just had that net promoter score, how likely are you to recommend somebody? And then based on that, you could show additional conditions. I mean, that's another thing that you could just get by with, is just that. But the key thing is, as well, is to tweak it, right? Tweak these surveys based on your particular customer. Are they the kind of customer that wants to really just give you granular feedback on every aspect of your business, or are they the kind of customer where, like, you can barely get them to give you a rating out of 5 and that's it, right? So customize it and do A/B testing on the survey, so that maybe 1 week you send out a more verbose survey, or to a certain customer set you send it out. But also, as well, pay attention to just anecdotal feedback, just casual feedback, where and train your employees to let the appropriate person know that, well, we had a call. I just got off a call with someone and they absolutely love us. Okay, who are they? Let's make sure we get, let's try and get a survey from them, because we all know that a really unhappy customer, they are just chomping at the bit to give you a 1-star review. But those happy customers, you got to kind of nudge them a little bit and say, hey, I really appreciate those comments. It would really help us a lot. We could attract other great customers like you if you could kind of just give us some feedback. I'm going to send you a survey. It'll take you 30 seconds. We'd just love to get your thoughts. So just, again, be kind of another great way that your employees can be kind of be that ear to the ground for you, and kind of help you to find those people that are going to give you a high rating.
Absolutely, yeah, great feedback. I want to. We're out of time. I need just a couple of minutes. I apologize, everybody. But I want to make sure we get to the giveaways here. So let me just put this up on the screen so everybody can see. We have a few things today that we want to make sure that we share with everyone. One is this one-page crisis response field guide. For how to handle negative reviews. So we want to make sure we get that to people. We have the survey template, which was showed and we talked through a little bit, and you can customize that to your heart's intent. You can switch it up. You can add logic. So based on responses to previous questions, you can selectively show other questions to kind of address some of those things that Andy mentioned. We have the giving away the 3 autographed copies of Andy's book, and just out of time here, if everybody could go to bit.ly/rept-bonuses. I want to give everybody a minute to go there. If you'd like these bonuses, I just need you to give us that information so that we can, let us know. You'll be entered into the drawing. We'll give away 3 copies of a book. We'll do that today, but we won't do it during the calls. We're out of time. We'll get you the 1-page field guide. We'll get that sent over to you, and then you can decide if you want that, and you can also tell us on this survey if you'd like the survey template that we mentioned copied into your account, so you can go right in and customize it and be off to the races with the new customer satisfaction survey. So while we're giving everybody a minute to do that, leave that on the screen, bit.ly/rept-bonuses, and I'll also paste it into the actual conversation here. Andy, why don't you, if you could, just give us some closing words. Really appreciated your time. What are your kind of final thoughts that you could leave everybody with here today?
I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's been a great discussion, and I definitely appreciate the questions. I half jokingly said, "Give me your toughest questions," because I want to hear what challenges you face. But I think that understand your business and understand your goals. We didn't talk too much. We touched on that, but what are your goals for your business? Are you trying to improve the reputation of your CEO? Are you trying to get more sales? And hey, it's okay. We're not all just sitting around a social media campfire singing Kumbaya. If your goal for social media and for reputation is because you need to increase your revenues, then God bless you. That is a totally fine thing to do. But understand what it is you're trying to achieve, and then build your reputation management campaign around that. Because if you just blindly go out and start building profiles and tweeting and stuff, you won't know if you've achieved what you set out to do. So definitely establish a goal, be proactive, and a lot of the other stuff will fall into place.
I want to say thank you, Andy. It's been a pleasure. This has been a long time in the works. We're really excited to have you on. And please, everybody, go to bit.ly/rept-bonuses. We'll give everybody a little bit of time to go there. If I didn't get your question, I apologize for that. We will get a response to you. Andy, if you have any extra time, we'd love to get you into the comment stream and answering any questions that you want to. I'll fill in around those, and we'll try to make sure we get answers to everybody. And we'll give you 5 or so minutes before we do the drawing so that everybody can get in and get entered into the drawing and get these giveaways. We'll leave that live for a little while so everybody can do that. So thank you, everyone, for your time. Mr. Andy Beal, and everybody go to either Amazon, search Amazon Rept, 30 Days to a Better Online Reputation, or you can go to this right here. I shouldn't have taken it off the screen, but you can go to this URL as well if it's easier for you to grab, bit.ly/rept-book. And I'll paste it into the comment stream as well, and you can get taken right to the so you can buy Andy's book. Give yourselves a few minutes so that we can notify our winners. In case you want it, the autographed version, we'll get Andy to send those out to us, so thanks for that. And thank you again, Andy, and everyone for taking the time today to spend this hour and 4 minutes with us, and we'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.